I've always been a skeptic. Ghosts, demons, monsters, all just products of overactive imaginations, right? That's what I used to think until last fall when I went camping with a friend in a remote forest. We were looking for an escape from our busy lives and figured a weekend in the wilderness would be perfect. We arrived at the campsite late in the afternoon, set up our tent, and gathered wood for a fire. As night fell, the forest grew eerily quiet. We talked and laughed around the fire, but as the hours passed, an unsettling feeling crept over me. I couldn't shake the sensation of being watched. Around midnight, we decided to turn in. My friend was out like a light, but I lay awake, staring at the tent's ceiling. That's when I heard it. A rustling just outside the tent. At first, I thought it was an animal, but then I heard a low guttural whisper, mimicking my friend's voice, calling my name. I shook my friend awake, heart pounding. "Did you hear that?" I whispered. My friend listened for a moment, then shrugged it off as my imagination, but I knew what I heard. Determined to prove I wasn't crazy, I grabbed a flashlight and unzipped the tent. The beam of light cut through the darkness, revealing nothing but trees and shadows. I stepped out, scanning the area, but everything seemed normal. I was about to turn back when I saw movement out of the corner of my eye. I swung the flashlight around and froze. There, at the edge of the clearing, stood a figure. It looked like my friend, but something was off. The movements were jerky, unnatural, and the eyes, those eyes were empty, void of any humanity. The figure smiled, a chilling, predatory smile, and then it spoke in a distorted version of my friend's voice, calling my name again. Panic set in. I stumbled back into the tent and zipped it up, my hands shaking. I told my friend what I saw, but they insisted I was just tired and seeing things. Reluctantly, I lay back down. Every sound outside now amplified in my mind. The next morning, we decided to cut the trip short. As we packed up, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. We left the forest, and I tried to forget what I saw, convincing myself it was a hallucination. Weeks later, I was at home when I heard a knock on my door. I opened it to find my friend standing there, looking exhausted and terrified. They told me they had seen the same figure outside their window, mimicking my voice, calling their name. It followed them home. We decided to research what we encountered and came across stories about skinwalkers, creatures from Native American legends that could mimic voices and appearances to lure victims. The descriptions matched our experiences perfectly. Then came the twist I never saw coming. One night, while trying to call my friend over the phone, I heard a faint noise behind me. I turned around to see my friend standing in the doorway, the same empty eyes and predatory smile as the figure in the forest. I realized too late the terrifying truth. The friend I had been talking to all this time, the one who had been followed home, wasn't my friend. They had been replaced by the skinwalker that night in the forest, and now it was my turn to run. Hello, I won't tell you my name, but I'm part of the Paper Town Police Department, or PPD for short. The town I live in has had many strange urban legends throughout the years. Some say it's nothing but superstition. Some insist these legends are true. No one really knows for sure. Well, no one except me. I was assigned last week to get rid of some old town records, which I know now was the PPD's attempt to bury specific events from the town's past. But I kept them, and I read them, and now I'm sharing them here. I know all this is probably super illegal and could cost me my job, but some of the things I found are just too interesting or disturbing to be burned or buried, and some of them I couldn't live with myself not sharing, since the ones who have had their lives ruined or taken would be forgotten. Are these accounts real? Fake? Either could be true, but I doubt the police department would document fake events. But I'm not here to give my opinion, I'm just here to tell you what happened. The Mascot Man. The town park has signs all around, it telling people to not visit past 11 p.m. The public has been given no answer about why this rule was put in place, but the records I've found may give some context. May 14th, 2013, 11:23 p.m. From the digging I've done on the subject, this was the first recorded sighting of the Mascot Man. A man named Gerald Richards was walking with some friends in the park and got separated from them when he had to urinate. I'd like to say piss, but I'll use that term to keep things professional. He began walking to find his friends and saw a figure not too far away. He walked closer and found it to be a person in a mascot dog costume with matted brown fur and large cartoony eyes. The man in the costume reportedly started to grow at Gerald, prompting him to back away. When Gerald was about 20 meters away from the person, it reportedly ducked down on all fours and began to chase him. Gerald ran aimlessly until he found his way out of the park, but in that time the Mascot Man was nowhere to be seen. He immediately called the PPD and reported the incident, but a search of the park turned up no trace of anyone by Gerald's description. One chilling detail of Gerald's story that I'd like to mention is a part of his description. When it bent down on all fours, I swear to God, the guy's knees inverted, like bent backwards so that his legs looked like the hand legs of a dog. I don't think a human's knees could do that. I mean, it's just not natural. He was cut off from here. September 15th, 2015, 11:42 p.m. One evening, a man who had requested to be anonymous and his significant other were on a night walk through the park when the two came upon a horrific sight. A person, later identified as Martha Gambaro, age 25, was strewn off to the side of the pathway. They had been mauled beyond recognition, with their entire face having been shredded down to the bone. I've seen the autopsy and case photos, which I won't share here. A, for their extremely graphic content, and B, because I'd rest better knowing that less people have been exposed to these horrific images. Why I bring this up, however, is because the injuries look similar to those of someone who had been mauled by a bear or mountain lion. This also was not an isolated incident. Over the next few weeks, there were several more murder reports with victims with nearly identical injuries. April 21st, 2017, 11:17 p.m. The last sighting of the Mascot Man happened shortly before the park curfew policy was instated. A group of teens went to the park at night to smoke marijuana by the pond, and around 11:17 p.m. they notice that two members of the group, John Mack, age 15, and his girlfriend, Abby Benton, age 14, had not come back from their walk around the lake. Before long, the rest of the teens saw a figure coming toward them, but as it got closer, they saw it was a man in a dog mascot costume that was soaked in something that was shiny, as one of the teens, who preferred to stay anonymous, said in their statement. When they saw this, the remaining teens got nervous and quickly ran out of the park and called the police. Since one of them told the others they thought they saw blood on the man's costume. Cops arrived at the scene and searched the park after taking each of the teens' statements. They were able to uncover the mangled bodies of both John and Abby, but again, there were no signs of the Mascot Man. There was, however, proof of its existence. One of the teens who witnessed the Mascot Man took out his phone and recorded a 14-second video capturing it walking in fairly good quality. This was proof enough for law enforcement to enforce a curfew on the park to prevent further incidents. They did, however, ask the teen to delete all traces of the video, which is why I find this curfew not only to be for the safety of the townsfolk, but also to cover up something unnatural. My thoughts. I think that whatever is in that park is something inhuman for two reasons. One, Gerald Richards' account of the thing inverting its back legs when it crouched down. Now it was dark and he could have seen things, but what makes me believe this detail is my other reason. Two, the nature of the injuries. There have been some heinous actions committed by serial killers, but the wounds found on the bodies throughout these accounts seem more animalistic than human. Of course, that's just my opinion. You can choose to look at this phenomenon any way you want, but there's no denying one thing. Something lurks in that park just past 11 p.m., and you'd best hope you never come across it. But anyway, enough of my rambling. I have to wake up. Head to the station tomorrow, but I'll try to write these accounts as frequently as possible until I post again. This is Officer Redacted with the PPD signing off for the night. Stay safe, everyone.